Boyfriend used me for my money and cheated, so I ghosted him and took over his business. I, a 36-year-old woman, dated Nick, a 37-year-old man, for 3 years. Our relationship seemed positive until I caught him cheating a year ago. I'm financially independent and have always been cautious with my finances. I'll be debt-free soon. Forgiving him was tough, but he worked hard to regain my trust, and things were stable for about 8 months. Nick asked for my help in starting a business, which I agreed to. I wrote the plan, guided him through getting permits, and helped with other steps. However, he didn't follow through, citing lack of time and anxiety. Essentially, I created a business where I would be his main client, as making him my partner was out of the question. I went to college, worked hard despite being an average student, and eventually became self-employed at 28. Nick claimed he owned a small agency and was about to get a government job when we met. This was fine with me until I discovered he was seeing his ex. This betrayal hurt deeply because I had done everything to support him, look good for him, and contribute to the household financially. After a crisis, I chose to forgive him. During this phase, he got a better job and treated me well. However, red flags emerged early in October. He wanted me hands off from his startup, lost interest in going out and sex, and became grouchy and rude. He had lost his job due to COVID, and we moved to a house I leased. I loved the house, but it caused friction because of my passion for rescuing cats. Nick resented my cats and wanted his family to move in, which was never discussed and was out of the question. His family are moochers, and his siblings have a pattern of leaving their partners as soon as babies are born. His family's behavior added to the tension. Nick didn't appreciate my rescue efforts and suggested putting my cats up for adoption, even though they weren't his expense. He hadn't worked a steady job in months, and I had been funding his business meetings. By the end of October, I got very sick, and Nick didn't show any care. He claimed he didn't want to catch anything, even though it wasn't COVID. He left for Thanksgiving with his family while I was still recovering. I had moved away from my loved ones for him and was left alone. We had talked about marriage, but I discovered he was back with his side chick. I found weeks of texts on his phone confirming they were having sex. Despite my pain, I didn't confront him immediately. I didn't find much on his girlfriend Laura's social media, but her mother's profile revealed Nick had been involved in their lives since last summer. He had been lying about job interviews while I partially financed his lifestyle. He had a so-called business trip to the BVI, which I doubted was for business. Laura's mother's social media hinted at a trip abroad, likely connected to Nick. I decided to leave Nick because of the pain he caused and his lies. I talked to my landlord about leaving the house earlier and hired a pet transport company for my cats. I had their health certificates in order. Nick's flight left early, so I used his trip to make my move. I arranged for movers to come the same day and packed my stuff separately from his. I planned to ship his personal items to his mother's house to avoid interaction. I canceled all business efforts, ensuring he had no access to my clients, deleted the business plan, and changed all my passwords and card pins. I also planned to drain and close the bank account he used for business expenses. I aimed to leave immediately to avoid any confrontation with his family. Update: I moved out and am safe. Thank you for all the good wishes and advice. I made a clean exit, thanks to your suggestions. The pet transport service was timely, and my sister took care of the new catio for my cats. Nick left early, and I spent the night canceling services and removing any links to him. I'm glad I never gave up my home office, which he wanted me to convert to accommodate his family. I used the office to separate work from personal space. After Nick left, I separated his belongings and donated his business suits and unopened food. I closed and drained the accounts, reported all cards as stolen, and changed my phone number to avoid his family's calls. I used his flight time to disable all financial ties. The movers helped disassemble furniture and took down the catio. I documented his belongings and shipped them to his mother. I donated most of my clothing to avoid triggering memories and took all the electronics I bought for him. I stayed at a B&B to avoid his family. While logging into his tablet, I found out he was fired from his government job and had been lying about it. He spent days at the mall and shared breakfast pictures with Laura. I started our relationship fair and square, but their messages revealed his low character. He wanted her to market his non-existent business and leave me once he succeeded. I found a rolling case bag of documents from his ex's office, which was a red flag. I handed the files to her boss through my lawyer to avoid any legal trouble. I'm safe and happy near my family but mentally drained. His family and friends knew about his affair, and Laura thought I was faking sickness for pity. I learned valuable lessons from this experience. I'll never help a man build himself again. I plan to refocus and rebuild my life, possibly developing Nick's business ideas for my sister. I'm leaving Nick and his family to deal with their mess. Let Nick move in with his girlfriend's family and enjoy his drama-filled life. Thanks for all the kindness. For those asking about starting a business, here's my advice. 1. Start small with a valuable service. 2. Do market research and avoid saturated markets. 3. Invest in compliance and proper registrations. 4. Don't trust anyone blindly or mix love and money. 5. Take things step by step and have a clear plan. I hope my story helps others avoid similar situations.